Right. I'm sure a few more will trickle in over the next few minutes. But because we have so much to cover and chat about today, I'm just going to kick us off. My name is Alexina Prather, and I'm the director of Access Helps. My colleague is on the line today. I'm with Jalicia St. Louis. And we're going to just kind of kick off the conversation today, get us started, and I'll pass it over to our speakers. But at any point, if you have questions about Access Helps, if you want to reach out to us, we're going to put some links and some contact information in the chat. Access Helps is a website that's updated on almost a daily basis with information for small business owners. We have anything from grants to loans to an events calendar. So really just a great go-to place for Miami-Dade County business owners to learn about programs that exist and are available to you all. So again, we'll be here throughout the conversation. We're going to help kind of monitor some of the questions. We are going to record this. So if anyone wants to watch it back afterwards, we'll have a recording available and we're going to email that out to everyone who's registered. So if you have to drop off or if you have something come up, no worries, you'll get the full recording. And yeah, so we'll record it. If you do have questions throughout, feel free to put it in the chat. We do have a lot of content to cover, but we're going to make sure to follow up with anyone if the question isn't answered. So I would like to introduce our speakers today. We have Maria Cotto of Partners for Self-Employment and Brittany Morgan and Brenda Morrison from the Miami Foundation. So Brittany, I will pass it over to you to get us started.
Thanks, Alexina. Thank you so much for hosting us today. We're so grateful to have Access Help as a great partner, not just helping our small business ecosystem in Miami, but also individual residents, nonprofits. If you haven't checked out their site, which you probably have because that's why you're here today, I definitely recommend that you check out the great resources that they have to offer. So for today's info session, we are really excited to provide you guys with a deep look into what the Miami Open for Business program has to offer. You may have heard about this offering, in newsletters or in passing, but we're here today to not only tell you what we have to offer, but how you can create a really strong application for the program. We know that you all probably submitted a lot of questions in advance around eligibility, how the funds can be spent, et cetera. We'll walk through most of that we cover. And if we haven't covered it by the end, we're definitely going to open it up for questions. And so I also want to let you all know that we're offering a Spanish language session of this exact webinar 1 week from today, same day of the week, same time. So if you prefer to get this information in Spanish or you think of an entrepreneur who could benefit, please want to let you know that we're doing that next week. So I'd love to just briefly tell you a little bit about who we are, our team, and what the Open for Business program is here to accomplish before I pass it over to my colleague Brenda, who's going to dive into a lot more detail about each of those product offerings. So the goal of Miami Open for Business is really to support historically underserved small businesses. This means organizations, including nonprofits that are minority-led, that make less than $1 million in annual budget, really trying to target the smallest of the small with asset building. So what is asset building? This is something that our donor, Wells Fargo, really is wanting to build in terms of ownership of your own assets, things like technology, equipment, vehicles, all the way through to commercial real estate property. The idea is by making these investments in fixed assets in your business, you'll be able to grow your revenue and basically own more of the critical things that you need to do a job well done. I'll also share that this is a 3-year program, so you're meeting us in the middle of year 2. We have these funding cycles. We had one last year, we have this one, and we will also be doing this again next year. There's 4 other cities that are doing this exact same program alongside us. So if you know any entrepreneurs who are in the Atlanta, Charlotte, Houston, or LA market, they also have each been given $20 million to support diverse entrepreneurs with asset building. And then last, I do want to give a special shout out to my colleague Maria, my partner in crime, if you will. We have contracted with what is a community-based lending institution to really support the grant making to our small businesses and the administration of the loan fund. There's a lot of community-based lenders, also known as CDFIs, that you could work with in Miami. We chose Partners for Self-Employment through a competitive, rigorous RFP process. And so we're very thankful to have their support. And we'll tell you in a second, what each of us is on point for. So you may be wondering, there's a lot of people on this call. Who do I talk to if I want to get information about something? So briefly about myself, I am the program director at the Miami Foundation. There's a lot of things you can contact me for, but one of the main things will be our real estate offering. So if you're interested in that real estate, grant funding, which we'll talk about momentarily, you can hit my line. I'm a born and raised Miamian, although I did just briefly spend 14 years in the city of Chicago. I'm going to pass it to my colleague Brenda to introduce herself, and then if you don't mind passing it to Maria to close us out.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Brenda Morrison. I am the program associate for Open for Business at the Miami Foundation. And any questions that you have regarding our nonprofit micro grant opportunity, I'm your person to reach out to. You can also reach out to my line as well for any questions you may have. And over to you, Maria.
Thank you, Brenda. My name is Maria Cotto. I'm the Executive Director at Partners for Self-Employment. And between myself and Hilda Torres, who's our loan officer, we're going to be packaging all things micro grants to for-profit small businesses, as well as the ABLE loans to for-profits and nonprofits. So in order to reach us for any of those needs, feel free to either call the line at the bottom or text us, which is what we are encouraging, and it will allow it allows for a quicker response.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So we will put some of these links in the chat, these numbers, they're also available on our website, but there's a lot of different ways that you can get into contact with us. And so now that you know a little bit about us and the program itself, I'm going to pass it to my colleague Brenda, who will walk through each of the financial products that we offer through Miami Open for Business.
Thank you so much, Brittany. So as mentioned before, we do have 3 financial products to offer through the Open for Business program, and it is meant to meet businesses at different stages within your growth journey. So one offering is our micro grant for technology or equipment. The next offering that we have is the asset building loan opportunity. And the final product that we have to offer is the collective real estate ownership funding opportunity. With the micro grant for technology or equipment, the grant is up to $20K, and it is for both, the opportunity is both for nonprofits and small businesses. And it is meant for you to be able to either purchase hardware, software, or any machinery or equipment. For the asset building loan opportunity, we have a 3% interest rate for businesses and a 0% interest for nonprofits. You're able to use the loan opportunity to buy vehicles, inventory, do renovation. If you want to refinance predatory debt, as well as do succession financing, you'll be able to do that. That is up to $100K. With the collective real estate funding opportunity, this is a forgivable loan that's up to $500K. It is for a shared commercial real estate opportunity. So we're looking for at least two collectives or more to be able to occupy a commercial space. And once we go a little bit more in the webinar, you'll get to see what those priority areas are. A good nugget to share related to all of these financial products is that between the micro grant as well as the loan opportunity, the asset building loan opportunity, you must have $1 million or $1 million or under in your operating budget, as well as be in operation for 2 years. The operation in 2 years also does go towards the commercial real estate opportunity. However, we do not put a lot of standing in terms of the 1 million or under for the commercial real estate opportunity. Another nugget to take away from all of these financial products is that you can be able to apply for all 3. You will only be funded for one. And say, for instance, if you applied during this round of funding and you were able to get a micro grant, you will not be able to receive it again. However, you can apply for the loan and real estate opportunity again during our next cycle of funding. And the reason for doing it is just to be able to expand the amount of opportunities that people might actually be able to apply. Some people I know who have come to this webinar, you applied the first time, you didn't get funding the last round. So you're trying to figure out how you could be probably one of the higher scores to be able to get the funding. We want to make sure that everybody has an equitable standing with being able to get funding. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the eligibility criteria, I touched on it a little bit. To be eligible, you must be a nonprofit or small business located in and serving Miami-Dade County. The owner or the small business or nonprofit must be led by historically underserved background, i.e. Latino, Black, LGBTQ, veteran, or with disabilities. And again, you must be having $1 million annual budget or revenue or under. Again, the budget maximum does not apply necessarily to the commercial real estate opportunity. And you must be in operation for at least 2 years. Next slide. So when it comes to the commercial real estate opportunity, we have the priority communities ranging from Allapattah down to West Coconut Grove. Homestead, Florida City, Leisure City, Naranja, Liberty City, Little Haiti, Brownsville, Miami Gardens, Opelika, North Miami Beach, and Overtown, and Richmond Heights and West Perrine. So it's a real gamut stretch of those communities where we really prioritize ensuring that all commercial real estate applicants find a property within those areas. Also, again, the business must be located in Miami-Dade to qualify for either the grant or the loan opportunity. All right, so when it comes to the micro grant, as mentioned, you can have the grant is up to 20K. You must request either technology or equipment and machinery. And the way how we define technology is any soft hardware or software, laptops, cameras, printers, scanners. If you are looking to maybe have QuickBooks for accounting, or if you're looking to get a Square or Shopify for your business, that would be inclusive of the technology definition that we have towards this grant opportunity. Equipment and machinery were defined as fixed assets used in your business, such as furniture, cooking, any manufacturing equipment, or industrial kitchen equipment would qualify to apply for the grant opportunity. In terms of what you need to provide on your application, nonprofits, you would apply through the Miami Foundation submittable website. Small businesses, you would apply through the Partners for Self-Employment Miami OFB Loans website. We also do like an organizational review, including questions about owner demographic, revenue, staffing, and more. And we really look at the type of narrative that you also create as well in terms of the questions that we ask about purpose, impact, vision, looking at your annual financial statement, and any vendor estimates. And lastly, in terms of the timeline for this grant opportunity, we have opened the funding opportunities, and it will end May 31st at 11:59 p.m. No applications are going to be reviewed before the deadline, and all applications will be reviewed by at least 2 people using the same scoring metrics. In terms of when you can be notified of if you've gotten the grant or not, all of the decisions will be communicated in July, and afterwards, the funding and disbursements will happen afterwards.
Awesome. And thank you, Brenda, for walking us through our first of the 3 financial products. I'm going to pass it now to Maria, who oversees the loan fund as part of Miami Open for Business. Keep the questions coming in the chat. These are really good. We'll keep an eye on the chat. Off to you, Maria.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm going to hit the highlights for the loan program. If there's anything that we don't go over, like Brittany said, please put those questions in the chat. We'll answer them towards the end. The first is, what can I apply for? So this is one of those common questions, especially with the loan program. These loans are between $5,000 and $100,000. The repayment period is a maximum of 5 years. Not all loans will be amortized at 5 years. The interest rate on these loans for small businesses is 3%. If you're a nonprofit applying for a loan, the interest rate on those loans is 0%. And then what can be financed? So here is where, and we'll get into more detail shortly, but this is where most people have some questions, right? So inventory, purchasing of inventory is allowed under these loans. Purchasing of a vehicle, that vehicle, of course, must be strictly for the purposes of operating your business. Remodeling and renovations are permittable. To refinance predatory lending or debt used to buy an asset. That asset must, of course, still be operational and still must be in your possession. To buy a legacy or generational business, and of course, to convert a business to a worker-owned cooperative. Another question that's commonly asked is, what do I provide in my application, or what am I going to be required to provide? So one of the things that we encourage everybody to do is to take a look at that application before you start submitting, so that you can get all of your answers together. But just some of the highlights are, we're going to be asking you questions about the demographic information for each of the owners, and each of the owners must be listed on the application. We're going to be asking you questions about the revenue of your business, how many employees you have. Are you looking at hiring additional employees over the life of the loan? These loans are written specifically for an asset purchase, so you're going to have vendor estimates to back up the application. We're of course going to be asking you for tax information, and this is personal and business tax information. We're going to be asking you for personal and business financial statements. We are going to be asking you for your business bank statements. And one of the more important items is cash flow projections, right? We're going to be looking at how are you going to invest this money, and how is this money going to take your business from where it is right now to where you want it to be. And then, of course, timeline. So we are, for the loan program only, for the ABLE loan program only, we are accepting applications on a rolling basis. So Brenda mentioned May 31st being the drop dead date for the grant application. For the loan application, it is December 1st of this year, but they will be awarded on a rolling basis because these are not necessarily competitive. These are either I qualify or I don't qualify. Next slide, please. So let's get into a little bit more detail about what you can purchase with each of these kind of allowable expense. So purchase of a vehicle. This is to finance a vehicle that's going to be used exclusively for commercial purposes, excuse me. So we're looking at a van, if you transport children, if you transport the elderly, a van, a truck, a forklift, a trailer, something along those lines. If you are delivering food, you do not need a Tesla specifically to do that. I say that because I've seen it. So something that makes sense for your business. For remodeling and renovations, this can actually be used for any part of that, right? So you can do the plumbing, you can do the electrical, you can do upgrades. The thing to keep in mind here is that you must have site control for the life of the loan in order to qualify for this money. So if you are leasing your space, that's perfectly acceptable, but your lease has to be at least through the last payment date on your loan. Inventory loans. So you can use this to purchase bulk items that you're going to resell, right? So textiles, materials, something that's going to help you fulfill a larger contract. As we mentioned earlier, predatory debt. So here is where you can finance yourself out of a high interest loan that you use to purchase specifically an asset for your business. That asset must still be in your possession, must be in working condition, and the life of the asset cannot exceed the life of the loan. So if you purchased a a tractor, and you used a predatory loan, something 18%, 15%, in order to purchase that, and you still have that piece of equipment, and you want to refinance it at the 3%, we're going to take a look at how old the piece of equipment is, its condition, what the life expectancy is, and then that's how we can amortize the loan. Succession acquisition is basically the finance of purchasing a business from a family member. So let's say your grandmother, your grandfather, your dad, your mom want to retire, and you want to purchase their fill in the blank, grocery store, whatever. You can use this in order to make that purchase. And then we've got worker-owned cooperative conversion. So this is where a business owner, instead of passing it down to a family member, which is where succession financing comes in, this is where a business owner agrees to sell it to a group of its current employees to convert this business into a worker cooperative. And it must be a group of employees, not just one. Can we flip over?
So that's technically it for the loan section. I'm about to launch into an overview of our commercial real estate offering, but these two products are some of our most popular. So I want to make sure that we can answer any questions that have come up in the chat about the loan fund or the grant. So just to recap some of the chat while you guys are presenting, there is a lot of questions about, is a business plan required? How folks choose between technology or equipment for their grant, and whether, they can finance things for a mobile business. And so do you want to talk about any of that, Maria, at least as it relates to the loan fund?
Sure. So the business plan is, we're not requiring a business plan. There are 3 narrative questions that have very specific, and we'll go through those shortly in the presentation. that have some items that we're asking you to specifically include in your answers. Those narrative questions are taking the place of a business plan and marketing plan. So you're not going to be required to have one separately, but do put some effort into answering those questions as completely as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Maria. And I do stand corrected. The only of these three products where a business plan will be required is the commercial real estate investment. We basically, as the financial products increase in dollar amount, the scrutiny and due diligence will increase as well. And so, for instance, for the micro grant, you do not have to provide a copy of your tax returns or a business plan, but you do need to, for instance, choose between technology or equipment. A camera is considered a piece of technology. I know that we have some questions about the application link. Do you mind speaking about that, Maria, once it's generated, how to be able to access the application in progress?
Okay, so once you start an application, you have the option at the bottom to hit save and return. I believe it's save and continue or save and something. There's a pop-up that's going to come up where it's going to ask you to type in an email address. You're going to type in an email address. You are then going to get a link. That link is going to come from, it's going to say Partners for Self-Employment, Miami Open for Business. Once you get that link, clicking on that link is going to take you back to the application that you started. If you start a new application, you're then going to basically have two applications in limbo. We cannot go in and pull an application for you until you hit submit. So make sure that you keep that link where you can, easily get to it.
Awesome. Thanks, Maria, for that distinction. Another thing that I just want to double click on that Maria mentioned is that there is a specific deadline for the grant, whereas the loan fund will be open this year. So if you're a business that's thinking about applying for more than one product, we often recommend that you prioritize getting your grant application in before May 31st. But you can maybe work on the loan afterwards. Another consideration that we get a lot is that people ask whether, if they apply early, is there any advantage? Please know that there's no advantage to submitting your grant earlier than May 31st. What is more important is that you work really well on your grant and that you make it a very strong proposal. So that we'll be able to walk through in a couple of minutes what makes a strong proposal. So know that we'd rather you spend more time on your application and make it right than get it in sooner, because we will not be looking at them until after the deadline so that we can score them all equally using the same metrics. And so I'm seeing there's some more questions coming in the chat. Please continue to keep them flowing. And I'm going to segue to talk about the third and final financial product that we offer through Miami Open for Business. So this product is called CREO, stands for Collective Real Estate Ownership. The objective here is really to facilitate the purchase of a owner-occupied commercial property through a shared equity model in select Miami-Dade neighborhoods. What we do is we offer a forgivable loan that can be forgiven over a 5-year time horizon up to $500,000. What can this loan cover? It can include things such as the down payment up to 20% of the purchase price and selected closing fees. In essence, this funding can cover things that you pay for at the closing, but this does mean that the collaborative who is interested in purchasing must pay for things out of pocket that happen before the closing. So for instance, if you're interested in this opportunity, you do need to have enough equity and enough pay to be able to pay for things like an inspection, appraisal, applying for a mortgage, etc. The C in collective stands for collective ownership. This means that we're looking for a group of at least 2 or more organizations. They can be nonprofits, they can be for-profits, they can be a combination of the both, but it does need to be at least 2 or more organizations who can also secure a mortgage. So we're providing a down payment. In turn, the collaborative needs to secure a primary mortgage to finance the remainder of that purchase price. So take, for example, you're interested in a building that costs $1 million, 20% of 1 million, I hope I get my math right, is like $200,000. That means that you can ask for that $200,000, but you still need to secure a mortgage to cover the remaining $800,000 of that principal. As mentioned, it's a forgivable loan, so it's going to be forgiven over a 5-year time horizon after you close on the property. Make sure that you're not selling or flipping that property and maintaining the shared ownership model. And so if this is something that you think you're interested in and that you are ready to take on, you can apply through the Miami Foundation's website. We'll put a lot of links in the chat where you can find the submittable website. Please note that this is not the blanket Miami Foundation website. We have a specific website for Open for Business where you can open the application. We will ask you several questions such as, who is a member of your collaborative, the demographics of those collaborative organizations, revenue, staffing, et cetera. We also have narrative questions about, why your collaborative is coming together, your respective business industries, a lot of questions around the subject property. As mentioned, if you're interested in CREO, it does need to be in one of the Open for Business target neighborhoods where you're looking to buy property. We also ask for a variety of attachments. There's a lot of due diligence that goes into this, considering it is a six-figure investment in real estate. And so we will ask you for things such as a project timeline, complete a budget. We have a budget template on our website. We're also going to ask for things such as a business plan for the lead applicant. And for every occupant that you plan to have on that property and occupying and co-owning it with you, we'll also ask for financial statements and a bio. In terms of the deadline, we're offering 3 deadlines this year in acknowledgement that people are at very different places in the real estate process. So by the 15th of every other month this summer, you can submit your application and we will get back to you by the end of the following month. So for example, if you apply by June 15th, you will be notified by July 31st. If you are not selected, you can reapply. You can do that for any Open for Business product. And so we'll try to make our decisions on a rolling basis so that you can move quickly on your property if you are selected. Much like all the other Open for Business products, we review every application by at least 2 sets of eyes. And then the real estate committee also convenes to make decisions in our investments. So this includes nonprofit executives, realtors, attorneys, et cetera. So know that these are, while the amount of information that we're requesting is pretty elevated, we want to make sure that we're investing in companies that are likely to successfully get financing and also go forward with the transaction. So we're very excited about this offering. We have a group of grantees that's already been funded the first year. You can view them on our website, and just wanted to be sure to share more information. We understand that the CREO product in particular can be pretty complicated and daunting. So if you have any follow-up questions and you would like to touch base with us, you can email us afterwards. So awesome. I'm going to pause for a second because I know that there's a lot of really great questions coming in through the chat, and I want to make sure that we can address them. So I see that some folks are asking about the application link. We will drop a link to the website in our chat. So folks have asked if the grant will be eligible to entities that started this year. You do need to be in at least 2 years of operation to qualify for any Open for Business program. It is not a startup capital fund. Seeing that also for the micro grant for technology or equipment, can you apply as an LLC DBA? Yes, and many times we do. Many of our applicants actually get funded through their formal LLC, while their brand name that they're known popularly as is something else. So yes, you can. Linda Harris has asked the collaborative. So this question is not about the grant, but about the real estate. If you have to form an LLC, yes, in almost every case, in order to hold title, the collaborative does newly form an LLC, a joint venture, or a special purpose entity, but the LLC does not necessarily need to be formed at the time of application in order to apply. For the micro grant, do we need to submit personal financial information or financial projections? No, that is not the case. For the micro grant, you do need to have, instead of projections, financial statements. So that tells you your financial position as of date. You don't need to have projections for future revenue unless you're applying for the loan, the ABLE loan, or the real estate product. No financial information is requested for the micro grant, but if you're applying for the loan, we do need to look at personal tax returns. Is there anything you'd like to add there, Maria, about the underwriting and required documents?
Yes, actually for the grants for for-profits, while we don't ask for your personal financial statement, we are requesting projections, a 12-month projection on the grants. So yeah, you're going to be asked to put those together, and we have some templates that you can use in the event that you don't already have some projections prepared. There's some templates that will be available to you on the website that you can use to help you prepare those.
Thanks, Maria. And we'll also put a link. I know my colleague Brenda just put a link to the nonprofit site, the submittable site, but we'll also put a link to our website, miamiofbloans.org. I recognize a lot of you are small businesses, so that way you can get information on how to apply for the micro grant. I do see that somebody in the chat has mentioned that they are military. Yes, this opportunity is open to military veterans alongside businesses that are led by folks who are Black, Latino, LGBTQ, or people with disabilities. I see there's some questions in the chat about eligibility. We actually have all this information on our website, so we're going to go ahead and drop a link in for the micro grant page. And then you can see, if you scroll down, the eligibility criteria are very clearly spelled out on that page. Awesome. We've also put up the criteria for the CREO program in the chat. So we're about halfway through, and I want to make sure that you guys get a really, really special preview here of what we look for when we score for applications. So previously, we've talked about these offerings on a lot of webinars. We had a micro grant improvement webinar in January that you can access if you want to look at that recording. But right now, what we're going to walk through is some tips for how you can prepare a really high scoring application and letting you know what it is that reviewers look for. So first, I just want to share some numbers from last year. So these are the numbers in terms of the demand, the funding allocations, and how many people were funded. I do see that some folks in advance of attending this webinar wanted to know about their chances of getting funding. So know that it really depends from one product to the next. We also know that these acceptance rates might go down, that we have an increased number of applicants, but in average, about 1 in 5 applicants will get funded. And so, for example, if you're not based in one of the priority areas, you can still apply for a grant or a loan. That doesn't automatically exclude you from being funded. And we'll talk in a second about what we do look for in those applications. For the real estate collaboratives, our number is pretty high. It's about 1 out of 3 who got funded the first time, but we know and we expect that many more than 14 will apply this year. So this helps give you a sense and some transparency about the demand for these products and how many folks are funded within each of the line items. And one of the reasons why applicants do not score as high, I'll first start with, is just, really basic information about what the program allows you to spend money on and also who the program is eligible for. So for example, a common reason why folks don't have their applications approved is that they're asking for non-allowable categories. Per the funder of this initiative, we can only support asset building and the acquisition of assets. So these grants and loans cannot be used to pay for salary, overhead, payroll, rent, etc. And when you request those items in your application, you just don't tend to score as favorably as folks who are asking for the right categories. Another distinction is when you are asking for something that financial product does not cover. I'll give some very specific examples. Some folks have asked for a grant to buy a vehicle. We offer a 3% loan for a vehicle. So if you're interested in a vehicle, you would ask for a loan. Some people are trying to use the loan to pay for technology. We would rather you apply for the grant and that can be spent on technology. Some folks have asked for CREO, the real estate funding to finance renovations that they have on a building that they already own. The purpose of the CREO program is to help people purchase property. So again, paying very specific attention. All of this is outlined very clearly on our website. You can get a sense of what is allowed within each category. Another reason why applications don't score as well is that they have disregarded the eligibility criteria. So there is a screener, a pre-qualifying screener before you start working on your application. So you make sure you're eligible before you waste any time and spend your time on these applications. So for example, if your business has more than $1 million in annual revenue, maybe you don't embody one of the historic facets of underrepresentation that we mentioned. Again, being Black, Latino, LGBTQ, a veteran or person with disabilities, or if your business is not based in Miami-Dade County and you are applying under a Broward address, or you are not in operation for at least 2 years. Another reason why applications frequently get declined is because there's a lack of specificity. There's a very big difference between saying you are looking for a scanner versus you're looking for the HD Epson 8500, et cetera, et cetera. And lastly, one reason that applications don't score as high is that you are having trouble articulating the impact that this investment would have on your business. And that's something that my colleague Maria is now going to talk about in a lot more detail as we walk through each of the 6 scoring criteria that we use to assess all applications.
So as Brittany said, we're using these 6 criteria in an effort to make this fair for all applicants. So we're looking at people who represent historically underserved communities. So the owner must embody one or more of the following disadvantaged, right? So veteran, LGBTQ, Latino, Black. We are also looking at staff. And one of the questions that you'll see on the application is we're going to ask you to provide us quite a bit of information on your staff. So we're also looking at, does the staff represent these underserved communities? Service to the community. So does the company understand how their goods or services create value? And this is where some of our for-profits have struggled a little bit. But there is value, right? If you're providing a service that might not readily be available in your community, even if it's a for-profit service. Just think about this question a little bit while you're answering it. And then the company does not primarily serve international clients or work in a sin industry. So we have a whole list of sin industries listed on the website. And some of those are liquor stores, check cashing stores, etc. Those are businesses that are not eligible to apply for these particular products. We're looking at or grading whether or not an organization has a strong financial capacity. And included in this is, does the organization or business have a clear growth plan? Projected revenues. For nonprofits, of course, these are donations or fundraising plans. Of course, we're looking at operational budget and financial documents to help us clearly assess whether or not an organization has a strong financial capacity. Included here, some of the questions that we saw when we were preparing for this is, what about businesses that have very low revenue or are currently sitting at a $0 revenue? One of the things that we're looking at is, does your organization have the capacity with the grants in order to take on these assets and keep your business operational and have those assets that you're acquiring move your business from where it is right now to where it is that you want it to be? And of course, for the loans, is this asset going to help you create the capacity in order to pay? So if you're currently at a 0%, $0 revenue, is your business really going to be able to remain open for the life of this loan or this grant? Employer firms that offer quality jobs. So this is why we're asking you quite a bit of information about your employees. So we're looking at, and we'll be giving points specifically for companies who have those quality jobs. How we identify quality jobs. Are you making it, are you paying your employees a minimum of $18 an hour or more? Or do your employees have access to healthcare plans, whether that be employer paid or discount? Is there on-the-job training, flexible schedules? So we ask you all of those questions in order for us to help determine whether we've got quality jobs here. Will the use of funding, will the use of this funding transform trajectory? Can the company show us a clear plan of growth? And in how the grant or loan is going to help this company get from where it is right now to where it's going? This is where those narrative questions are playing a big part. And we're looking at, does the company have clear rationale for the funding and why it's needed, how it's going to be deployed in your business, and how it's going to move your business's trajectory? And then, of course, underserved neighborhoods. While there is points that are awarded for being in one of the underserved neighborhoods that were discussed earlier on in the presentation, it is not required. What is required is that your business be located in Miami-Dade County. The address that we go based on is not necessarily the address that you put on the application. As part of our due diligence, we're required to go in and actually check where your business is legally registered. So that's the address that we're going based on, not necessarily just the address on your application. And one more, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about this scoring criteria. So we have some examples here of some really strong applications, and then some applications that can use a little work. So the organization having strong financial capacity. What we're looking at is that your financial statements show steady growth or maintenance of revenue year to year. The staff roster demonstrates the organization's adequately resourced, right? So if you say that being able to purchase this computer and this printer is going to allow you to bring in 30 new clients, does your organization or business have the capacity to service those 30 additional clients? And then, does the company understand its market share and its growth potential? And are the projections reasonable? So we're looking at past financial history, what it is that you're looking to purchase, and your projections, and is that reasonable? Will the funding transform your trajectory? What is wrong with me? Is there a clear understanding of how the acquired assets are going to impact your business? So this is where we want you to tell us a little bit more about not just, hey, I want to purchase this printer, but how is this printer going to truly affect my business? Is being able to use this printer as an additional printer going to increase my sales? Is it going to increase outreach? Is it going to increase productivity? And then we need you to be real specific, and your rationale has to correspond to the assets that you are purchasing. One of the things that if I go ahead to the next one, if I can give you one piece of advice is when you complete your application, do your narrative questions last so that you're sure that they actually correspond to the final assets that you decided to purchase. So if you say that you're going to purchase printers and then you're answering that trajectory question with computers are going to help me move this forward, it's just not going to go together. So so I usually encourage people to do all of the financials and the numbers and then do the narrative questions last. And then we've got some sample responses from nonprofit and for-profit proposals that we want to go through. So we want to concentrate on helping you do a really strong application. So in order to complete a really strong application, the first thing we want you to do is to read the question in its entirety. There's a reason why we're saying to you, describe in 2 to 3 sentences your proposed use of funds. Please include detail on the items that you're going to purchase, how you're going to acquire them, and how you're going to deploy them in your organization. And I know that 2 to 3 sentences doesn't sound like a lot, but you can clearly see on the left-hand side of your screen there, you've got an example of something that's of an application that scored highly. And the one differentiating factor is that they hit each of the items that we asked them to hit in the question. So be as detailed as you possibly can. You want 4 Tera barcode scanners and 5 laptops. This is going to enable my staff to be more efficient. These scanners are going to streamline data calculation and improve the accuracy of our metrics. It will also minimize paper waste. Like here the applicant is being very not only intentional, but clear on their answers. Understand that the people reviewing these proposals are probably not experts in your industry. So we're going to need you to be as detailed as you possibly can and answer the question, including all of the sub questions within the question. One over. And here's an example from a small business proposal. And here we're asking you to describe how you're going to be investing the funds you're applying for. Include a description of the asset. So we're telling you exactly what we want to see. A clear description of the asset, how it's going to be used within your business, how it's going to increase or enhance your business, how you plan to meet your increased demand now that you've got this additional asset. How you're going to reach new or additional customers, and how having this asset will help your business reach its future goals. So here again, we're asking you to hit some very specific topics. Successful applications are going to break down this question and are going to make sure that each of those sub questions are answered in as much detail as you can give us. Clearly outlining exactly what the equipment looks like, exactly what the strategy looks like for reaching additional customers, exactly what the strategy looks like for moving your business from where it is to what your goals are.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. While I have you off mute, I would love if you don't mind answering some questions about the physical location of the business. So we're getting a couple of questions from folks who either have a PO box or maybe they have a mobile business. So what would the address be for those organizations who are either mobile or have a PO box?
Okay, so when you registered your business on Sunbiz, you used an address. We're going to look at the business address that you registered on Sunbiz. We're going to look at your local tax receipt and what the address is there. And those are the addresses that we're going to use to show where your business is located.
If anybody has a follow-up questions about that, please put them in the chat so that Maria can tackle them. And I do, I'm getting also some questions about folks who maybe they don't have paid employees, or they're not based in one of the priority areas. So they have some questions about, the competitiveness of their application. We just want to point out that maybe you don't have, maybe you're a solo entrepreneur, or maybe you're not located in one of those neighborhoods. Those are just 2 of the 6 things that we look at when we're scoring an application. You could have a application that is in one of these priority areas and has paid staff, but if they're not explaining themselves well, and they're not going to, help us understand how the funding is transforming their trajectory or the good or service that their organization provides, they're not going to score as highly. So I don't want anyone to count themselves out because they don't have W-2 paid employees or they're not in one of the target areas. There are 6 possible ways that you can score high in a proposal, and simply having employees and simply being in an underserved neighborhood is not one of the sole decision-making factors when we look at the strength of an application. So
And
just
I think
more.
it's important to note that each of these sections is weighted equally. So there's a maximum of 3 points per section between 1 and 3 for each of the point sections. So it's not like being in an underserved neighborhood gives you 5 points versus only 1 point being historically underserved. So each of these is weighted equally.
Awesome. Maria, can you talk a little bit more about the location? So people have questions about online businesses. A company is registered in Jacksonville, but the mailing address is in Miami. What does that mean for their physical location of the business?
So their physical location for our purposes is Jacksonville. That's where they're registered.
Yeah, thanks
That's
for
the
clarifying.
only address that we can confirm through legal documents.
Excellent. Great clarification. And so physical address, should it be a storefront or should it be where the business is registered?
So when you register your business, you're going to put in 2 addresses. You're going to put in the address where you're going to get mail, that sort of thing. And then there's a question when you registered your business on Sunbiz that's basically asking you where you are doing business. Where do you conduct business? That's the address that we're looking at.
Thanks for clarifying that, Maria. We have just about 2 or 3 more slides to get through, and then we can definitely open it up for questions. If you'd like to respond to anyone in the chat, Maria, about the physical address location questions, please feel free to do so. So the one thing that we want to let you guys know is that if you need help with your application, we are working with a variety of organizations that can help you. Maria, myself, and Brenda and Hilda, we can help answer your questions as the funding team, but we're not necessarily we don't have the capacity to get in the weeds with you and work on your financial projections if you're applying for a loan, or help you to look scout property if you're interested. So what we want to recommend is working with one of the providers on this page. If you happen to have your business located in one of the target communities, you can go directly to one of these 6 organizations that has been trained about Miami Open for Business. They know about the financial products and can help you. They will not write your application for you. That would be ghostwriting, but they can tell you, for example, the scoring team may want some more information when you talk about the goods and the services that you provide. Maybe you're not based in one of these communities or you're a nonprofit organization. That's fine too. We are still working with organizations that know about Open for Business and can help you. So for example, Radical Partners, if you're a nonprofit organization, you can reach out to them. Or if you're a small business, you can work with the council, aka the Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council. There is a page on our website. We've linked to that in the presentation and we'll put it in the chat. This is a place where you can go directly to the websites of one of these providers to get more assistance. Last but certainly not least, we're also rolling out a variety of workshop series. We recognize that the commercial real estate space is very vast and there's a lot to know before going into a transaction. So we are actually launching a commercial real estate workshop series in partnership with an organization that's actually on the phone today. So thank you for joining, and there'll be more information about that workshop through our newsletter. So if you're not already subscribed, we really encourage you to take down our information, not just for our newsletter, but our contact us form in general. Several of you today in the chat had specific questions that were very specific to your business, your ownership model, et cetera. We ask you to please take those offline so that we can give you more individualized advice. We've always had a phone number, but this year we now have a text line. If you want to get a response and you don't want to wait on hold, you don't want to leave a voicemail, text us and we get back to you very, very quickly to answer your questions. And so there's a couple of links here. on the screen. We also have, some questions in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and open it up to some additional Q&A. Thank you. Oh, there's a lot of people here. Maria, some questions about the PO box.
Mhm. All right, so, where the address that we've got to go on is the address that your business is registered to. So when you register your business, again, there's gonna be there's two addresses that you put in on Sunbiz. The business location address is the address that we're gonna go on. If you have moved your business and your business is no longer at the address that you have on Sunbiz, that is an easy enough change for you to make. And you should have enough time to make those changes before the deadline.
Thanks. Alina, I see that your hand is raised. Do you have a question for the group?
Me? Oh, hi. Yes, thank you for this educational opportunity and your help. On the application, I'm doing the micro grant technology, which I thought was due on April 15th, by the way. So now here's May 31st, correct? Yeah, that's not the question, but the question is, there's a segment where it says about your office. I forgot the name, the question exactly, but it says online, storefront, mobile, and it doesn't have one for physical address. So I just put other, and then I put physical address. So I'm surprised it doesn't have like an office. Is an office a storefront?
I don't have the drop down list in front of me. If there's nothing else there that says office and you put in other, there's a side box that came up. You should put
Yes.
office there.
Mhm.
If not, and you put storefront, we'll take either one.
Okay, thank you.
And let me make a note.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Yeah, I heard that for the micro grant, we didn't need to do a financial projection, or we do need to do a financial projection.
You are going to complete a financial projection form, yes. And there's a place on the micro grant application for you to upload that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Oh, if it's the time, I don't know if I interrupted.
Yes, please, go ahead, yes.
Okay, so I have this question because I am neither Black nor Hispanic, but in terms of the power dynamics in Miami, we are underrepresented minorities. So I'm wondering, am I still qualified to apply for this, or how does that work?
Thanks, George, for your question. I feel like if you feel like you represent a marginalized group that you don't see represented on the website, then please reach out to us and take that conversation offline. A lot of the decisions we made, for example, like being a woman-led business on its own is not enough to make you eligible, because that's rooted in a lot of the income data and the wealth disparities that we looked at to make these funding decisions. But for example, we're regularly changing the program to meet consumer needs and feedback. And so, for example, we've gotten feedback about including refugee-based owned business versus, just allowing any immigrant. And so if you feel that you are a member of a marginalized group that you don't see represented on that eligibility criteria, so please reach out to us for a conversation.
Okay, and then who do I reach out to?
The contact us form is the best way to make sure it gets to the right place. We have a lot of potential. If you do the drop down and you do, I think, other concern, you should, I'm trying to copy and paste the link. Thank you. You can reach out to us directly.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the contact us link was just dropped, so you could click on that.
We have at least 5 minutes of just open time. If you want to ask questions in the chat or come off of mute, please let us know.
While we wait for somebody to speak up, I'm taking a look at the Sunbiz website. So Sunbiz gives you the option to put in a principal address, a mailing address, and an address for your registered agent. The address that we're going by is your principal address, which is the address that you're supposed to be doing business at. So that's the address that we're going to go by to determine whether or not you're first a Miami-Dade County business, and then secondly, in one of those designated areas for those points.
Hi, Ingrid. What's your question?
Hi, how are you guys? Thank you for your time. My question is for the grant, for the micro grant. When you guys say technology, is this mainly focused on physical needs in terms of like electronics and stuff, or these can also be for like website development, marketing, and things like that?
Yes, it can include not only software and subscriptions, but also web development if you're trying to launch a website. However, if you're asking for the grant to pay for ongoing web maintenance expenses, such as a marketing coordinator, we'd have to kind of look at the specifics of what you're requesting.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Janetta, what is your question?
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. So I have a question regarding, let's say if you are in the beauty industry and you work at someone else like establishment, but you rent like a room or a space there, would I still be able to apply and also have like the business tax receipt, even though it's not my physically business address?
Maria?
Yes, yeah, so that's one of those questions that comes up in the beauty industry. So yes, you are considered an independent entrepreneur if you are renting your chair. Now, whether or not you can have the business tax receipt is going to be based on whether or not you actually registered your business with the state. So as long as you registered your business with the state, then you should be able to get your business tax receipt. And those are the two items that we're going to need you to do before you apply. I'm also assuming that you're filing taxes as an independent business owner as well on either a Schedule C or some other business tax.
Correct. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Or hi, iPad, I see that you have a question. The person with their hand raised, would you like to ask your question?
Hi, yes, good afternoon, everyone. My question was, are you guys allowing funds to businesses that's not certified, or that's only one of the only part of the process?
I'm not sure what you mean by certified. Do you mean registered with the state?
As far as some type of minority, woman-owned, hub zone development, any of those things, are those one of the requirements?
So you're not required to be certified as a minority business in any way, like through the county or the city.
Okay.
But the owner has to self-qualify as one of those minorities. And
Gotcha.
being a women-owned business is not in and of itself considered a qualifying population.
Okay, thank you.
We have just enough time for at least one more question if anybody would like to come off of mute or participate in the chat. Yes, John.
My question is, what if your business has not made it yet, monetary? Because even though I've been in business for 2 years, the first year was the hard year, real hard. So what if you don't have that to show that, you made a certain amount of money?
So that's going to depend on which product you're looking at. So with the loan, are you looking at the loan product, or are you looking at the grant product?
Actually, I'm looking at the grant right now.
Okay, so the grant product is going to be based more on your projections. So being able to show that doing your financial projections to match up with the narrative statements that you're going to make in your application that are going to explain to us how acquiring these assets are going to help your business grow to a point where it's self-sustaining.
And also my main goal is to have somebody technology-wise work with me on my business, even though it's a African fashion store. I need, so would I be able to use the grant for that?
For salaries, no.
Not salary, no. I'm talking about for technology purpose, like, doing my website I already have, but I'm talking about just helping you with putting stuff on the website, that technology stuff.
Right, but the fact that you're gonna be paying an individual to do that work,
Oh, yes. I will be paying them to do that work.
and they're going to work for you?
Work for, yeah, with me at the store, yes.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, salaries and that type of overhead are not allowable expenses for the Miami Open for Business projects. products.
Okay, but you can use it for technology if I want to buy technology support. Not for the person that's working, but if I want to do like my website, I want to fix the website better, I can use the money for that.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Mhm.
And thank you, Brittany. You've been such a great help. Thank you,
Thank
all
you.
of you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I know we're a little bit over, so the one thing that I would recommend for everyone on this line is to please spend some time with our website. We have a page for each of the products, one for the grant, one for the loan, one for the real estate offering. We have a page where you can get support. You can reach out to an organization who can help you with your financial projections. We have a calendar. You can find us. We are in person at Partners for Self-Employment's office almost every single Wednesday before the application is due. We will have the same info session in Spanish next week. We have a newsletter that has information. So really appreciate you being here. Definitely recommend to please sit with our website and let us know if you have any other follow-up questions. You can use that contact us form. You can text us, and a copy of this recording will be sent out to you and to Access Help subscribers. Thank you again for attending, everyone, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.